evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. The Halloween spirit was alive and well today, with spooky events being held across the city, along with trick-or-treaters flooding the streets in their costumes to load up on candy. Mitchell Ringos has the story.
The day started off spooky at the Dagwoods Bakery and Deli for a fundraiser in support of kitty care. That included a haunted bakery walkthrough, Disney villains to take pictures with, and a complimentary treat for kids. Event coordinator Olivia Widla says she wants this to be an annual event as the community and staff love it.
Last year we did it and we're going to try it out because of COVID and everything like that. And then we got a lot of good positive feedback from a lot of the kids, a lot of the adults. So we decided we're going to do it again and try making it bigger and better. That's why we brought the Disney villains out this year.
And the Halloween festivities didn't end there, as Bay Village Coffee brought back its car hop trick-or-treating, where families could drive in and receive a bag of candy and apple cider. Last year at the event, they gave out 500 bags of candy and raised $7,000 for Our Kids Count, which one of the event coordinators, Daniel Trevisanuto, says they hope to raise $7,000 more this year and years to come.
It makes so much sense. It's so much fun for all of us. It's so easy for everyone just to drive on through and keep going. It takes, people are in and out of here in just 2 minutes, if that. And it's nice, quick, and it's just so much fun, and it's raising so much good money for Our Kids Count.
Once the sun started to set, the families came out on the streets in full costume with their treat bags ready to fill them with candy. As families seem to feel safer this Halloween with lower COVID numbers and a higher percentage of vaccinations. Even with the colder fall weather, the kids were very excited as we talked to some trick-or-treaters on why they love Halloween so much.
I like Halloween so much because we get to get lots of candy. I like Halloween because I get candy. I like it because we trick-or-treat because we trick-or-treat because when we're done trick-or-treat, we get candy. I like Halloween because we go to lots of houses.
And for this year's Halloween, it seemed everyone had a lot of fun dressing up and heading to these spooky events. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Changes to restrict commercial traffic onto East Avenue is being proposed at tomorrow night's City Council meeting, as residents have raised concerns over tractor-trailers parking at the County Fair Mall. A draft bylaw that would restrict vehicles over 10,000 kilograms on the road will be presented Monday, which administration is recommending. It comes after a motion tabled in June by McIntyre Councillor Albert Aiello, who has heard extensively from homeowners that the big trucks are a nuisance. He says they pollute the air for those living behind the mall and create noise at all hours of the day, among many other concerns.
Interrupting the day-to-day lives of our residents. And the other factor you really have to look at is just garbage that's left behind. It's not uncommon to see the area full of bottles full of urine and just garbage that's in their truck.
Also at tomorrow night's meeting, Councillor Andrew Folds will look to convince his colleagues to commit Thunder Bay to a net zero climate pledge. One of its main focuses will require the city test out zero-emission electric transit buses by the year 2025. And the Geraldton Hospital's new expanded emergency room has been providing services to the Greenstone area for some time, but officials there have been keeping a secret about it until this week. That's when the grand opening was held to officially name the new ER after a local physician. Adam Riley has the story.
While the $21 million expansion of Geraldton's emergency department is complete from a physical and operational standpoint, something was still missing. And that something, as hospital CEO Daryl Galusha says, was difficult to keep under wraps.
We've kept that covered. We've had things. This man has dedicated his life, his family life, his personal life to the people of the Greenstone district. It was a unanimous decision to choose to name the ER in honor of Dr. Lane.
For 40 years, Dr. Roy E. Lane has brought people into this world, saved lives, contributed to the health and well-being of residents, and at one point in 2005 was the only physician in the Greenstone area. A man of few words, Dr. Lane was taken aback slightly by the unveiling.
What were you kind of feeling when you saw that?
A bit dumbfounded, yeah. It was quite a surprise.
The expanded space not only includes 5 rooms for emergency care, but is also bringing chemotherapy to the region for cancer patients and space for mental health supports. Greenstone Mayor Renard Beaulieu heralds the project as a game changer, not just for his community though.
It takes a while to put things like this together, but you know what? We should all be proud. This is a necessity for our community, for the region, for our Indigenous communities, fly-in surroundings. This is an area that needs to have the proper service for our healthcare service.
In 2019, Minister Greg Rickford was able to announce the expansion of the ER and came back 2 years later to see the improvements while attending a ceremony at the new Greenstone mine this week.
We're so pleased, but this is an example of the kind of asset a community like Greenstone is going to require if we're going to build a mine here in this municipality. So it's just the beginning, Ryan, but it's probably the one that's most important as a former nurse who's lived and worked across Northern Ontario.
Adam Riley, TBT News.
After a one-year hiatus due to the pandemic, one of the city's longest-standing charity events will return this upcoming February. The Bearskin Airlines Hope Classic will once again hit the ice at the Fort William Curling Club to raise money to fight breast cancer for its 25th year. Registration began for this year's event at a kickoff party this past week at Sleeping Giant Brewery. Hope Classic Chair Sue Child says she never could have imagined how the event would grow after having a goal of raising $5,000 in their first year back in 1997.
We wanted to raise $5,000, and the first year we raised $39,000. Had no idea it was going to carry on. Cliff Friesen, who was the Bearskin Airlines at the time, stood at closing ceremonies and said, well, when we do this next year. And here we are. $3.3 million later. It's marvelous.
The fun competition featuring all women's curling teams begins on February 25th. Childs wanted to thank everyone from Thunder Bay and across northwestern Ontario for their support throughout the years, which has made the event the success it is. And she can't wait to see everybody back on the ice. And members of the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club have been waiting patiently for the completion of the new skills park within the Trowbridge Foreston Park. And those members and riders are finally able to show off their skills. Danielle Bain reports.
With limited time until the snow arrives, the anticipation for the new mountain bike skills park at Trowbridge was felt throughout the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club. Many members of the club and the public showed up for the opening of the park and could barely contain their excitement, including 16-year-old Mason Moselle.
Oh, it's just deadly. To have these young kids out here, oh, it's way better. You know, it was a dying sport before. Now it's back up where it should be.
In 2021, the Black Sheep Mountain Bike Club is the biggest they've ever been. They have over 500 members, up from the less than 300 they had in 2019. And Vice President Mark Moranzin said the turnout is better than he ever imagined.
It's been amazing to see the growth in the young kids, the families especially, the last few years with the club. And obviously you can see there's tons of young kids out here today hitting the lower lines, and it'll be great to see how they progress over the next few years thanks to stuff like this being built.
The original budget for the project was around $180,000, and Ian Shaw, owner of Precambrian Natural Surface Trails Inc., says they finished very close to that budget when the park was done. Shaw was extremely happy with how it turned out.
On the coolness factor, it's very cool. I would have given a lot to have something like this when we were kids, because we used to have to kick around in the dirt, and we didn't really have anything this safe or accessible when we were growing up. So it should be cool to see the level of talent that comes out of this.
Moranzin thinks this park will be huge for mountain biking as a sport and for the economic impact it will have in Thunder Bay going forward.
It's great for the regional approach, for the tourism. Obviously, we've been getting a lot of interest from all over the country with people crossing Canada this summer and noticing what's going on. But it's also about the health and wellness of the locals and having something great for the community here. So we're really excited to see what that's going to offer us over the next coming years.
In the spring, the final touches on the area will be finished, including more grass to be planted, a new shaded structure, and a new play structure as well. Danielle Bain, TBT News.
A Thunder Bay author held her first in-person book launch after releasing a literary novel in May. Maud and Me by Marianne Jones is a fictional story that touches on marriage, self-identity, and religion. This is the first novel Jones has written, but it's her 8th publication. The story is set in the 1980s between Thunder Bay and Marathon and explores the inner isolation of a woman resigned to her role as a pastor's wife. The main character, Nicole, befriends Lucy Maud Montgomery, the late author of the Anne of Green Gables novels, who helps her through her struggles. Jones thinks the book will hit home for many local readers.
The main inspiration was that one day I simply had this very strong impression come into my head of a woman gardening and looking up and seeing Lucy Maud Montgomery there. It came to me almost as though it was being dictated. So the whole first chapter was almost dictated to me. And then after that, the impression stopped and I had to figure out where to go with this.
Jones says the novel took her 20 years to write, so she was incredibly excited to finally share it with the public. Maud and Me can be purchased at local bookstores, and Jones is already working on another book that is set to be released in the new year. Sounds like a great read. Join now with Kurt Black. Kurt, we had some pretty exciting curling action over this weekend. McCarville taking the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. Krista McCarville and Team Northern Ontario were on a mission out in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. We've got the highlights from their successful weekend right after the break.